All right. The Edmonton Oilers lose game 3 by a score of 6-1. Yeah. There's really not much else to say. That's pretty much the sum up of the game. Imagine how you think a 6-1 game would go. First game in Florida of the Stanley Cup Final. Just imagine the type of collapse that might have to happen, the type of great play that would have to happen on the Florida side, and of course imagine the most shenanigans of shenanigans that would happen towards the end of that game. And that's pretty much what happened. But I'm going to do my best to just kind of break it down, but this is going to be the shortest breakdown video that will hopefully ever be on the channel because that was just horrendous. First minute and a half of the game, Brad Marchand scores. I'm not going to blame Stuart Skinner for this, but he pretty much embodied how the Oilers looked the entire game on this goal. He was panicked, and he jumped to a place where he thought the puck was, and then the puck kind of bounced to a different spot, and it was rifled into the back of the net. That goal looked horrendous. That goal looked like a preseason goal. I get that it was a bouncing puck, but the Oilers were shaky. They were afraid. And it was just very disappointing to see. After that, I'm not going to get into it about the refs, because honestly, the refs were, for the most part, fairly consistent for the duration of this game. I think the fact that it was pretty much over by partway through the second made it a little bit easier for them to crack down on some of the shenanigan-y things. But the 2 trips that were called, both of them in favor of my Edmonton Oilers, so I don't want to be hearing any homer talk, were very weak and bad. Even the cross-check, that one that was against Kane, that one was also like, I get why it's called, but early in the first period, I was just saying that had better get called later in the game, because those are the types of calls that usually don't get called in overtime, but get called in the first period, and it's frustrating. But those trips were so ticky-tacky. I mean, the high sticks are high sticks. The too many men, you had 7 guys on the ice. Like, there were a lot of penalties that are going to be called and were thankfully called throughout the game. But the 2 trips in particular, when those were called, I mean, Leon Draisaitl has a stick in his skates and he tumbles down, but he's behind the play. Darnell Nurse, same sort of thing. Like, he went down hard, but it was just a skate-to-skate contact and he fell. When you see tripping penalties like that, in my head, I start to think, okay, every single time a player falls down and he is next to and touching another player, then that should be called, which it wasn't. But like I said, that really only mattered and was a narrative up until partway through the second, because then it was over. Now, let's talk about how wrong I was about the Florida Panthers. Game 1. I went into Game 1 thinking the Florida Panthers are probably going to play some of their best games through Games 1 and 3. I think that afterwards, the Oilers are going to take over. They're going to find their game in a better way because they have that desperation. They won 15 games last year. The Florida Panthers won 16. I think that the Oilers are going to be way hungrier to win that 16th game than the Panthers, just because they got so close last year. I thought the Panthers did a tremendous job in Game 1 of matching that desperation. The Oilers were the better team, in my opinion, in Game 1. But the Panthers matched their desperation, and when the Panthers saw an opportunity to strike, they did. And they capitalized, and they did so very effectively and very efficiently. They forced overtime, had a great push in overtime. This is, again, in Rogers Place. Like, this is in the mecca of hockey, as people are talking. Like, this is in a loud building. The crowd is vibing. Like, not the mecca of hockey, but, you know, it's like, it's a hard building to play in. But the Panthers matched it, and they ended up losing. Tough one in overtime. Puck over glass penalty. Okay. And then Game 2, similar sort of thing, but the Panthers even played better. And the Panthers were going to win this game in regulation if it wasn't for an absolutely miraculous goal by Corey Perry to force not 1, but then 2 overtimes. And then the Panthers get the puck luck, and they get the puck in the back of the net. And I thought they did a tremendous job in that game, even more so, of matching the 15-win team from last season. You know, I can't imagine being any hungrier than the Edmonton Oilers were. That's why I picked them to win this series. I just thought they're going to be so much hungrier. In this game, the Florida Panthers did not even come close to matching the desperation of the Edmonton Oilers because there was no desperation from the Edmonton Oilers. The Panthers didn't have to combat with squat. They had to slap around a little brother. That is what it looked like. It looked like a big brother playing a little brother at hockey. The big brother gets an early lead. They score again on the power play. Okay, Oilers down by a couple. Oilers down by a couple. They're down by a couple. Going into the second period. Okay, little brother's going to step up here. They get a power play. Boom. Corey Perry. This was actually a very nice goal. Most of the goals were quite nice, actually. I mean, this Corey Perry one was a great little play. Just the one off the top of my head. It was a nothing goal at the very end of the game, but that Ekblad goal on the power play, the Oilers' power play barely looked like that. They had so many opportunities in the first period. I think they had 4 opportunities, 3 or 4 in the first period. Diddly squat. The Panthers did a tremendous job getting sticks in lanes, breaking up plays. Connor McDavid looked so beyond human. He looked like little brother, which is crazy to say. But Connor and Leon looked like little brother. There were pretty much no Oiler players that I can look to after watching this game and say, wow, they played a complete game. The Oilers, it was a total little brother game. But Corey Perry, okay, little brother's getting back into it, 2-1. How many minutes after? 1 minute and 20 seconds after. Sam Reinhart. 5 minutes after that, not even. Sam Bennett on the breakaway. Podkolzin. You got to just get that deep. You got to tie that up. You got to know where your defenders are. Okay, you can't just be flopping it through the middle where there's a lineup of guys that looked like a lateral pass on a football play where you had pick sixes. It was pretty much a pick six is what it was. Sam Bennett with an unbelievable finish. Oh my gosh, that was gross. That was gross. And then the game was over. And then the game was literally over partway through the second. I mean, you know that the Panthers are going to defend so well. It's going to be so hard to beat them when they score 5 goals, when they score 6 goals. Like, you're not going to beat them 7-6. I'm surprised that they even got that 4th goal in game 2 to make it an overtime game. Like, this is just an unacceptable way to play. So like I said, it's going to be a very short breakdown. The penalties again were just horrendous in the first period. And I don't mean horrendous by the refs. I just mean some of the stupidest penalties to take by the Oilers. Like, what are you doing? Play disciplined. And then in the third, it's my least favorite thing about this game that I love. And I get that it happens, but man, it's just grown men acting like children by the end of it. That's all it was on both sides. And I don't blame the Panthers for getting in the Oilers' grill and chirping them, because that's what you do and that's what the Panthers do. But then the Oilers, like, I can't blame them because I've never been in the heat of the moment like that. But, like, come on. Suck up your lip, take it on the chin, and start thinking about Thursday. Like, what are you doing, taking these runs at players, cross-checking, breaking your stick, and over Bennett, and then Evander Kane with the accidentally on purpose? I feel like Evander Kane on that little tiny, I'm glad they only gave him 2, and it was thankfully only 2. But you could tell that Evander Kane, I can't even know who was down, and he just kind of just accidentally on purpose hit him in the face with the stick. He restrained there, and I'm glad he did, because he nearly made himself an absolute clown. He already kind of did on that play, but he really could have made himself into public enemy number 1. It was pretty disgraceful by the Edmonton Oilers. They played horrible. They fought dirty at the end, which is just going to happen. But overall, it was just an extremely, extremely disappointing day. As you can tell, I'm not nearly as emotional as I was after game 2. And it's because I've had time to process this loss for about an hour and a half. 2 hours I've processed this loss. It was just that horrendous. There's nothing else to really say. So that'll do it for this breakdown, this Oiler fan react, whatever you want to call it. Thank you for watching. If you did, hit like, hit subscribe. Brand new sports channel. Going to be doing a lot of sports talk. Hopefully I won't be forced to talk about the Blue Jays for a couple of weeks still, but I will transition my talks aggressively to the Blue Jays after the Oilers season ends, hopefully with the Stanley Cup parade. I'm not too worried about the team. I still think they're going to win the Stanley Cup. But they have to win game 4. They're going to have to win game 4. I don't think you're going to come back from 3-1. But who knows? This team can do a lot of crazy things. I just hope that they can complete this. I tip my cap to the Florida Panthers. I really do. Just an incredible showing. And yeah, Blue Jays won today. They're on an absolute heater. I will be talking about them a bunch, like I said, but hopefully not for a while. Oilers in 6. See you in the next one. Bye.